Hello, I'm James Smith from In This Corner for Fight Now TV at the inaugural Boxing Hall of Fame induction ceremonies here at the Monte Carlo Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. It's about time that Nevada gets a Boxing Hall of Fame, going all the way back to the 1800s, fights in Carson City and Ely and Tonopah and Laughlin, and of course, the Mecca of boxing right here in Las Vegas. We were lucky enough to get a ringside seat and catch up with many of the luminaries here in attendance. 1897 in Carson City, Nevada, the solar plexus punch was thrown by Bob Fitzsimmons, and it stopped James J. Corbett. That's kind of when the history of this state boxing took over. It's fantastic that finally, after all of those years, you are really the guy that made it possible for us to have a Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. Rich Marotta, tell us how and it wasn't easy, because we talked about it ringside at the Mayweather-Guerrero fight.
Right.
How did you make this happen?
Well, Smitty, thank you very much. And I had a core group of people that really helped me. The idea kind of came to me a year and a half or so ago, and I kept debating whether or not would it be worth it? Would people consider it viable? Can we actually make it happen? Decided to go ahead with it as a nonprofit organization, a charitable organization, to honor the greats of boxing in Nevada, and there's so many, and of course, and two, to contribute to boxing-related causes, as we put it, amateur groups, youth groups, UNLV and UNR boxing programs, as well as some boxers in need.
With the former bantamweight champion of the world, the Pocket Rocket, Wayne McCulloch. Good to see you, champ.
Good to see you again, too.
Now, you're involved in this Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame in a pretty big capacity. You're part of the board of directors. Explain that.
I'm part of the board of directors. Rich Marotta approached me and said a retired fighter, he wanted one in there. And I got to vote people in this year, so it's about time we had a Hall of Fame in Nevada.
You would think, yeah, I think it's been a long, and I know you and I over the years, you're a resident here, I've lived here for 17 years, and it's been a long time coming. And when you think about the history of boxing, and a lot of people don't realize that it goes all the way back to 1897. Bob Fitzsimmons with the solar plexus punch stopping James J. Corbett. You were just a young lad then and weren't probably able to go to that fight.
But 24 then?
and that fight, that fight was actually in Carson.
That's right. I
think at a racetrack. So when you think about Nevada, people think Vegas, but there's also Reno and Carson City and other, Laughlin, there's been a lot of fights. So there's a lot of history.
Yep, a lot of history, but I think Vegas was the capital back when Caesar's Palace was the outdoor arena, and you had a lot of big fights there. They took that away and sort of took away some of the big fights, but the MGM, Mandalay Bay, have most of the big fights now.
We've got 7 boxers who are being inducted. 6 are actually here. We split it up into non-Nevada and Nevada residents. So we've got, the likes of Mike Tyson here, and we've got Mike McCallum here, and Diego Corrales' wife will accept Michelle Corrales on his behalf. Then we have the non-Nevada residents. Sugar Ray Leonard is here. Larry Holmes, Julio Cesar Chavez flew in from Mexico. A lot of these guys came a long way. But we're also honoring a number of the people who contribute to boxing, who help put it together, who regulate it, who report about it. For example, Al Bernstein, Royce Fior, so many years with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Referees, Mills Lane is here, making his first public appearance in Las Vegas in more than a decade since he became sick. And Joe Cortez. So Mark Ratner, the great executive. So we are honoring a lot of people who help make boxing go.
You help create this damn strip with so many great fights. I think you fought here like 20 times or 16 times over the years. So what does this mean to you?
Hey, it's still just setting in. I'm just happy. I can't believe we're having a great night, out of the blue like this. And I have to say, I owe the city of Nevada just as much, gratitude that they owe me for fighting here. I just had a wonderful life here, besides having that bite fight, even that alone, that doesn't override the wonderful years, and just living here as a citizen and a resident of Nevada is just, it's been overwhelming in my life. I'm very grateful, and that's what I'm trying to convey is really gratitude.
Yeah, you're a resident here like I am, but when was the first time you ever stepped foot in Las Vegas?
1984, the United States Olympics boxing trials. And when I lost in the finals to Henry Tillman,
who I was with last week in L.A.
Yeah, how's he doing?
He's doing fantastic. He's got a
he
gym
had
there.
Fighters too, right?
Yep.
He had some pros.
He's looking for the next Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
He had your number as an amateur, but he couldn't do a
Listen,
damn thing with you as a pro, could he?
Hey, that's just what I wanted to do in my life. Without meeting Cus D'Amato, I know a lot of people say, you did it, Mike, and Cus even said it. If you didn't have it, I couldn't do it. It's just no one knew how to convey what he conveyed, how to talk to and reach the core of my soul like Cus did. You have to be proud and be, and just respect and go out there and fight with every bit of blood you have. And if I never met Cus, I would have never knew anything about being confident or ego or anything else. It would have been a later period of my life.
I wish Cus could be with you now and see the 40-some-odd-year-old Mike Tyson.
Oh, I'll be fighting now. He said, man, you have to fight. Why are you not fighting? You should be fighting, Mike. Oh, you wasted goddamn time. You should be fighting, Mike.
Any difference? I was at many of your fights in Atlantic City and elsewhere, but was there anything different about fighting under the lights in Vegas?
It's just the fight capital of the world. Especially the time when I was fighting, it was just, oh, man. Everyone knew that Mike Tyson, the best fights in the world, were held at Las Vegas, Nevada, and that's just where everybody flocked to.
Well, congratulations to the great Sugar Ray Leonard, now part of the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. What does this honor mean to you?
Smitty, this is long overdue, and it feels so wonderful to be here amongst my contemporaries and rivalries and friends. Las Vegas, without question, was my second home. I've had some great moments here, and I cherish this moment without question.
Yeah, you and Larry and Ali and a bunch of guys after Mike Tyson helped. The casino owes you guys a little bit because I really think as much as obviously gaming is what this place is about, boxing, this is the mecca of boxing, made and put together by guys like you.
Let's talk about that interest. But, I always loved fighting in Las Vegas. Because the fights were not just fights, they were events. People came from all over the world and gathered to see a contest, and for the most part, it always was an incredible matchup.
And I think you didn't you fight in Reno as well?
I fought Reno also.
Yeah.
I believe it was Bruce Finch. I'm almost positive it was Bruce Finch. It's funny how as we get older, we forget a few things. This is amazing.
It's where red wine helps, Ray. But now, in terms of, it's hard for you, but I'm gonna try to force you to do it. If there's one Nevada, we'll say Nevada, but let's break it down to Las Vegas for you. One Las Vegas night that stands out to you, what would it be?
What comes to mind is Tommy Hearns, 1981. That's one of those moments that it was ebb and flow, it was back and forth, and it required every single ounce of my mental and physical ability to beat that guy.
When was the last time you watched that fight in its entirety, all 14 rounds?
I see that fight probably every few months. I do. I watch it because whether a friend's over my house or I'm just, hanging around the house doing nothing, and I just happen to pull it up on the internet.
What does this mean to you, the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame?
I think the Nevada Hall of Fame is long overdue. We created an atmosphere and instigated a brand name around the world, making Las Vegas the capital of the world of boxing. And it was done with dedication, commitment, and support of the Nevadians who are with Cliff Perlman and Kurt Kerkorian, and Sig Rogich, some of the guys that they're putting inducting into the Hall of Fame, Bob Arum. Every one of us, they made a contribution in dealing with the problems of life. And at that time, it was even more segregated, and was so more pronounced with the race problem. And that's why I said I could have never been noticed the way that I was noticed here in America if I didn't have a Bob Arum. You know what I mean? Bob Arum, white, Jewish, Harvard graduate, a Kennedy Raider, reputation of high stature and esteem. Yet Don King, ex-convict, an ex-number runner, coming out and to go out and to say he's going to perform. If you would say who would be most likely to succeed, it'd be 100-0. You know what I mean? Yet everything that I ever did, I won because he inspired that type of tenacity and perseverance and never say the attitude, never say die, because I had to be able to do that in order to establish myself. Around the world, I was okay. A third world, I was going from Rumble in the Jungle to Thriller in Manila, you know what I mean? But here at home, you know what I mean, we find ourselves in that, frightful, peculiar institution called slavery that is really, that put a mark on black and white alike. You know, when I say the color barrier, I'm not talking about black and white. It's about all the prejudices that they use for the poor white and the black, and they have this one pitted against that one, the other one pitted against the other one, and you fight for competition when there is no competition. You know, you a slave labor and they free labor, so I'm getting it from you too, and they exploit us both, Smitty. So knowing that, I always would propagate living for the day that all people will be clothed in dignity, every race, color, creed, and religion. And so I worked that throughout my career and continue to do so, fighting for peace. And so Las Vegas is an integral part of that. It's rarely do you get the rewards. You always get the vilification, you know what I mean, the character assassination, you know what I mean, the villainy of whatever is going to happen, but you rarely get the rewards. And so coming here tonight, you know, it's a humbling experience. I'm deeply grateful, very appreciative, you know what I mean, for the recognition, you know, but we had made Nevada a household word around the world. Caesar's Palace was the representative of Las Vegas, and arguably the most profound name in the sport was Caesar's Palace.
Let's talk about what this means to you. Your history in Vegas, well, you as a fighter, as a trainer, as a person, talk about what it means to you to be inducted into this Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame.
You know, Nevada's a great place to have a Hall of Fame because this is the capital of boxing, of course, and this is where the Hall of Fame belongs. And this is just a great moment, a great night. The people I'm going in with are unbelievable, these great world champions. I never thought in a million years that I'd be alongside this group of people. I mean, this is one of the best groups ever. And, you know, I just, I came to Vegas from Boston to pursue my boxing career, and I had a pretty good career. Then I became a trainer. I had my first 2 world champions here in Vegas, and just a lot of great memories. And it's just unbelievable that I'm here tonight, I feel.
And you mentioned alongside, going in with a guy that you know something about. I'm certain he meant a lot to your career, the late, great Eddie Futch.
Of course, my mentor, and Eddie's just the greatest guy in the world. And just coming back here and seeing Mills Lane back, and Mills did a lot of my fights. Just a great guy. You know, Larry Holmes, who trained Eddie trained also, and I said Ernie Schaefer's out there. Just this group is unbelievable.
And people don't understand. You know, I was just talking to Wayne McCulloch about the history of we think Vegas, but there's Carson City where the Fitzsimmons-Corbett fight was. You and I weren't quite around at that point, but there's Laughlin, there's Reno, there's and there's other casinos other than where we see Manny at the MGM. There was a Silver Slipper. You even go back to the Silver Slipper days, don't you?
Yeah, I fought 11 times my first year. Silver Slipper, 10 round, $1,000. That was top pay. But the Slipper was a great place to learn your trade, though. I mean, it was just a great. That's why I moved to Las Vegas, because they had a weekly show, and the thing is, activity was the key to progressing and getting better. So me and my father came out here. My dad stayed with me for a week, and then he had to go back home and take care of the family. And then I met Eddie Futch, and I had a great care with Eddie, and then he taught me the training side of the game. And thanks to Eddie, that's why I'm here.
And about Eddie, what made him so special as a trainer and as a man?
Just as the human being he was, just a gentleman, real nice guy. But if you get out of line with him, he'd check you. Yeah. So, but he's just a great guy, and just his knowledge was unbelievable. And I'm glad a lot of him rubbed off on me.
Eddie Futch, tell us about him.
Maestro. He's a class act. He works hard. He's a very disciplined man. He's a very shrewd man in training. He hates to lose. You don't want to lose. And when he tells you to do something, you want you to do it. Because 9 out of 10 times when he tells you to do something, he's right. And if you don't do it, see, I told you should do it. You didn't do it. And when you do it, you're right. I'm in fights, and Eddie tells me, just take your time. Settle down. Because, I'm getting all that. Settle down. Yes, sir. Now do this, do that. Why are you getting so excited? Just take your time. Go back again. Come back. Repeat that round. These trainers don't tell me that. They tell these guys these things. Yeah, you got to throw the right hand over there, and you got to hit him with the body over here. And no, Eddie talk to you real soft, look at you, and he get your attention. Mike, yes sir, and then he talks to you. You, Mike, yeah, settle down. Okay, do it this way, do it that way. You do it just fine.
No, Eddie was a type of guy that, you know, he just wasn't a great trainer. He's a great person. You know, he used to sit down with me. We used to go to fights all around the country, and he'd sit down at the dinner table and he'd talk for 2 or 3 hours. But he talked back to the 30s and 40s when he sparred with Joe Louis. He talked about working on the railroads and stuff like that, and the stories he told me was just, you know, priceless. But I say, one time he did an interview it was a documentary they made for British TV about my career back in '95, and he talked about all his world champions, and he said that I ranked up there with the top 5, and I thought that was, out of all the champions he's trained, he put me in the top 5, which is, I was took back from it. I didn't see the interview until they showed the fight on TV, and I couldn't believe that he actually put me in the top 5.
Eddie's fighters tell me this, you know, Eddie always knew what to say, you know, and that's a skill and it's a gift. And he was really gifted and he was dedicated. And so anyway, I absolutely see why they miss him, because I do that too.
You've done a fantastic job with us. I know you got to get off and get things going. But before you go, what can we expect with the future?
Well, I think we'll have smaller classes in the future. We wanted to have a big one here to start with because it was, you know, just establishing the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. But, you know, we sold 400 tickets, and I think we can go bigger next year in terms of how many tickets we sell.
Well, congratulations on putting this together. You and I have been speaking about it. You've done a hell of a job, and I'll see you ringside. Maybe we'll sit together at Canelo and Floyd and see a better fight than we saw the last time we were there.
Well, yeah, more exciting, and who knows? And what's better than that, being ringside for a big night like that?
Congratulations.
Thank you, Smitty. Appreciate it. Take care.